Now in distance, we have a nice purple color. I recommend any kind of purple you have would be okay, even the dark one. We can use it and make a lots of white with it mix and make it lighter. So any kind of purple you have would be okay. If you have lighter value, you don't need to mix a lots of white, but if you have dark like mine, we need to mix lots of white to make it light value like those. And I see some feeling of bluey grayish, something like that. So I use the sky blue, adding light blue color. So we just see the background and then more space for the sky, less space for the road. So let me put it aside and start working at the surface. Okay, I choose my brush. I just separate with a line that varies the horizon line. I prefer to start from here. And less space for the road, more space for the sky. It doesn't matter you start from where, it's top to the bottom or bottom to the top. I start from the top of the sky with the blue color and very flatly cover whole the surface of canvas or wood with this flat blue. We don't need to be heavy, just we need to cover all the white of canvas by moving the brush from left toward the right. And then vice versa, right toward the left, and cover all the canvas with this bluey grayish color. Take heavy paint like that and then cover all the surface. The reason I really love the heavy paint because easily can cover the white of canvas or wood and get rid of those. It's not easy to get rid of the white of canvas. Just heavy paint can help us. And the other things, heavy paint not dry so fast, so it gives us more fade everything together. For example, on this stance on here, we need to fade purple into the blue sky. So we need to use heavy paint and doesn't let it dry so fast. So this is heavy paint with the blue. I make it a little, bring it down. Move on into purple, this light purple that you pre-mixed before. And then adding some more stroke with this light purple and try to disappear into the blue. Because the blue should be wet and very gently they can disappear into each other. Even you can make your brush moving like a curve like that because they're showing the bushes or the trees on the stands. So you can move it with the curve, gentle C curve. But when the blue color is wet, they very gently and nice mixing together and give us a nice and fade surface. You can bring it a little bit more up and fade it with curve stroke into the blue and help it disappear together. Even when you see that the blue color start to get dry, because when it's get dry, you bring the purple on top, the edges create, the line or edges between two color create. Don't worry, you can add a little bit more blue and then move on with the purple and make them fade together. And when I am close to the horizon line, I will move on with one level darker purple. And then bring it into the lighter tone. And help these two purple this time fading together. But please add heavy paint because heavy paint not dry fast. So you easily can add your stroke and make them fade and blend together, which is the option that we would like to have. Even we can back to the lighter tone sometimes. And we need to use our hand pressure as well. When you want to cover the blue part, you need to add more pressure in your hand. When you want to blend two colors together, please add very less pressure in your hand and very gently try to touch the surface with mixing two colors together. Because when you add more pressure, you can lift up some paint and your paint not easily mix together and blend together. As I mentioned, instead of this one, we need the darker value to premix. Darker value, we need the purple and cobalt blue to premix together. Even add a little bit blue, light blue that you have would be okay. It depends how much blue or how much purple you add. It can be more toward bluey or purpley. I think it's fine. I'm happy with this. Just a bit more to premix. Now this time we would like to use our palette knife. As I mentioned, instead of this one, we need the darker value to premix. Darker value, we need the purple and cobalt blue to premix together. Even add a little bit blue, light blue that you have would be okay. It depends how much blue or how much purple you add. It can be more toward bluey or purpley. I think it's fine. I'm happy with this. Just a bit more to premix. Now this time we would like to use our palette knife. So start with here, adding like that. Move it a little bit. like this and adding the trunk tree. And even if somewhere you add a little thickness on it, it doesn't matter because we can cover it by leaves. It's better the top part be narrow. The bottom part always is more thick because the trunk tree, when it's come near the grass, it's more thick. Move on with palette knife for your trunk trees. You can take some brown. I mix a little bit blue into my brown to make it darker. Because burnt umber is not much dark. If you work with a Van Dyke is really dark. So then clean your palette knife with one side. Take some paint like that. It's better now a little bit like this as a line. If you want to have narrow line, just straight, lay it down on your surface and draw as a line. You see how much narrow I can draw. But if you would like to have a little bit thickness, you need to put the same way, but bring a little toward here, lay it down and help your more paint sit on your surface and bring it down. Even you can move it toward left, toward the right, a little shape the way that you move, not just a straight line. It just need a little practice with the palette knife, but it's easy. It's not challenging, I think, a lot. Even it makes some broken way, it's fine. You can back again, cover it. This thickness. The same way, and the 2 or 3 of them I need trunk tree here too. So I take the paint, one side, lay down a little bit, move it toward left, bring it down. It's not cover all the part because during the way it's get finished, the paint get finished, so I need to adding more. With palette knife even we can make some thicker trunk tree. But with the brush, it's more flat. And then this one, lay it down a little more and then move on like that. I try to shape the way that I go. Just play a little bit left and right, toward left and right. And help the paint sit on top of the surface. Now for the branches, I am going to add with the brush. But we need to have around the center a little bit narrow trunk tree with lighter value, which is a purple, to show that the trunk tree is on the stance is visible. So take a little more water into this paint that you premixed before, just adding very gently light trunk tree here beside, for example, this tree, just one line. Here, narrow one. I recommend to use brush for that because we would like to show that these are on the stance. So because of that, we add the water to make it more flat. And then some here we can add. So I'm going to use small palette knife, or if you have just a big one, please adding with the tip of palette knife. I'm going to add with both to let you know how you can. First of all, I mentioned that we need to add a little brush as well. So I'm going to add a smaller, using small brush. We can use pure this paint. We don't need to premix any of them. So we have a little purple too. I can use this one too. A little orange. Bring it here. Just make it flat. I don't want to use heavy paint with the brush. And very gentle, adding randomly some movement here on top, around it. I add it with the brush. It can be orange, even here, just some, not. Because I see some feeling of flat surface of leaves here, even it has a little purple on this part. Because of that, I use my brush to adding the feeling of orange and purple on top randomly with brush stroke. Even sometimes the brown is wet, so they can mix too. That's fine. So leave it like that. Move on with palette knife. We use tip of palette knife. So take tip of palette knife with the paint very gently. Just try to help it sit on top. Move it very nice, different way. Take it. So small part adding on your surface, but you need to keep your hand up, not laid on your surface. Take your hand up because we need to control our palette knife and hand. We don't want to let all the colors sit on our canvas. We would like to make the shape of some leaves. So very gently touch it and move it. Just help your paint sit on the surface and move it on the other side to shape the leaves. Even take some yellow, let it here on top. You can move it into the orange. They can mix together even to give a nice value. Let me bring it close to camera. You see here how much texture it has to look like the leaves. This road, it's a little bit more yellowy, and please not cover here this part. This part should be completely empty. So please make sure very less movement of stroke with the leaves we need to have here, and then more on both sides. Adding orange and yellow at the same time. With very, very less pressure, try to move it together and help it sit on top. Just use the small part of the palette knife, which is the tip, and sit heavy paint randomly on the painting. be heavy and leave it like that, not make it flat or not work on it more. Just try to move it your color on top of the surface, like a little look like the shape of leaves like this, and then not work more than that. Leave it to get dry. Even after it gets dry, if you feel you would like to work more, you can do, because most of the time working on top of the texture, it's more interesting. So, but the first layer, it's better not to make it busy and work a lot. Just very gently with very, very less pressure. If you see I adding no pressure on my hand, I try to adding very gently the paint on top. I'm not adding a lots of paint to make it more busy on my trees. Just would like to bring it on the bottom part or on the road to show that both sides of the road we need to show that the leaves are spread everywhere. And that's more easy because we need to just take the paint working like this. Let it sit on top. It can be a little smaller or shorter, not like a line, but it look like the road, and it's flatly from uh, this angle, like horizontally. We can help the paint, the warm color sit on top. A little bit green can be come and bring a nice feeling of not just the reddish color. So we can use the tip, adding randomly some stroke with green color here, even here. Doesn't matter if we change the shape that we make before. We can do it like from top to bottom, bring it into the orange, even here. Because I use a really heavy paint, it really takes time to get dry. So I need to come on top and cover with the green color a little bit more. On this side a little more as well. And here too.